We're going to call the Monday, March 25th, 2024 regular meeting of the Jersey Shore Area School District Board of School Directors to order. Mr. Enders, can I have a call, please?
Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mr. Bernberg. Present. Mrs. Calhoun.
Here.
Ms. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Peters.
Here.
Mr. Furman.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
Mrs. Semler.
Here.
All 9 members present.
Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm going to call Mrs. Johnston forward to recognize the students.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce two of our fourth grade students from Jersey Shore Elementary, Jace Gerst and Eiley Gerst, and they are here with their teacher, Mrs. Dolan Ward.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we will have approval of the minutes.
Yep, you're right.
I'm looking over. From February 12th and February 26th. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say aye. Motion passes. Next is the treasurer's report. From February 2024, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Just want to make the board aware that we did have an investment mature on the 21st last Thursday. We are able to reinvest that, so we will see that come out at the last meeting of April. We are going to split it between a 6-month and a 12-month CD.
Any questions for Mr. Enders on that? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say aye. Motion passes. Approval of the bills, February 2024. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
My turn?
Nothing unusual in the bills this month. Just in the general fund payments, there were a couple of large payments that were routine, but there were two that, one is routine, one was not. We had a $274,000 payment to GCW for staff computers that was paid for with one of our ESSERS grants. And our payment to Sugar Valley was $114,359.56. That was for the February tuition bill. 38 regular ed students and 26 special ed students. That's it.
Any questions for Mr. Enders? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say aye. Motion passes. Moving on to communications.
I have nothing for this evening.
Okay. Under the President's report, we had an executive session prior to this meeting for legal and personnel. Intermediate report. Okay. And student representative report, Kate. Okay. Superintendent's report, Dr. Ulmer.
I'm going to start this evening by recognizing Mr. Armbruster and representatives from the senior class, including our senior class advisors.
Hello, we're here representing the senior class of 2024. I'm Caitlin Herman.
I'm Celia Shamori. I'm Jocelyn McCracken.
I'm Matt Frable.
So this past school year, we've been working to fundraise for a remembrance garden for our classmate Max Engel. And our vision includes not only a space to honor Max, but also a space to honor those whose lives were taken too soon from us. So we'd like to have a space that's accessible to students, staff, as well as the whole community.
So as you can see, we've chosen a spot across the tennis courts at the high school. It's highlighted in blue right there. So we have an amazing opportunity to work with Dr. Mike Dencher and his PCT landscape and design students. He is here with us today to answer any questions you may have after the presentation.
We also have the opportunity to be working with Leonard Block. On our presentation it says Thomas Block, but we are working with Leonard Block, and they're willing to work with us to supply us with discounted materials for our hardscapes that we're looking to include in our landscape.
So up here are two pictures of Dr. Dencher's projects that he has done in the past. So these are kind of some similar designs that we're looking into. So yeah, Jocelyn's gonna pass out.
School Road.
This is a vision that Dr. Dencher has had. So this is what you're seeing now, is what we're looking to do.
So for the board, as she's passing those out, if you're coming down School Road from the high school, tennis courts are on your right. There's a grass spot on your left between the road and the wooded area. It's there. And there is, on this drawing, you'll see the sidewalk noted. There is a sidewalk on that side of the street. So they would be designing this from the sidewalk out into the grass, our grass area, to your left coming down School Road.
Dr. Elmer, are there already trees planted along that roadway that are in memory?
Believe there are.
Yeah, this would not be in that spot.
Okay, you're a little bit further down.
Yeah.
Correct.
Go ahead, sorry.
Our hope is to begin working on this project soon. We have been fundraising all year, and we graciously have been offered financial help from the Engel family as well as other clubs within our school.
So our goal again is to provide a nice space for not only those grieving the loss of our friend Max, but also for anybody past, present, or future. So we hope this garden will provide a place to reflect in peace and tranquility. We also hope this can become a space utilized in the future for clubs or classes during the day. And we'd like to thank the Engel family and Mr. Armbruster and Dr. Dencher for coming here tonight. I think that's good. Mr. Armbruster can take
right, so before we proceed with questions, a couple things that we do want to make sure that we all understand is that Penn College is going to soon dismiss for the summer. So we are limited to, they have 5 working Tuesdays left. And so our hope would be that this might be something that you could vote on at the next board meeting. But in the meantime, perhaps we could at least proceed with the PA1 call and getting in conversations with Mr. Wall and Mr. Dincher so that they are ready to hit the ground running if and when this would be approved. And we do have Mr. Dincher here if there are any immediate questions, as I am not a hardscape expert.
Does the board have any questions at this moment?
I'm here to answer them.
How long do you think this would take to complete?
Well, I'd say we could probably do it, if I had twice the time, we could get it done if you made a decision tonight. If you did that, we could at least get the base in there. In other words, there wouldn't be any pavers on there, but it would be a stable entity there that you can even walk. I mean, that area has a problem, it's wet, and anywhere you go along there, you're dropping off. So that has to be built up considerably, but that shouldn't be a problem. It's just getting that one call done so we can get started digging.
Dr. Owen, do you have anything that you'd like to add with recommendation?
No, one of the things, when I met with the advisors and Mr. Armbruster and Mrs. Engel, we looked at examples of this. This was almost identical. What he created is what I found online and said, I think it should look similar to this. So we're on the same wavelength of what it could be.
So you're calling it a remembrance garden. Is there some way names and that will be noted on here? Because you didn't mention that.
Yeah, so, consistent with board policy, there's an idea to have a memorial wall where you can place the plaques on the wall,
Okay.
built up. Actually, I think the idea was to build it up behind that seated area. And I believe there's already a project started.
So if you recall, and that kind of, Mr. Wall and I already picked one out through the committee and we purchased one already. The intent was to put one in the stadium on the wall of one of the buildings. We got it pretty cheaply and have the funds in his budget, we could purchase another one. And the idea was, not necessarily immediately, but his staff could add the wall behind, like if you're here, it could be added behind the circle so that it's visible if you're there. It would align to what we've already planned.
Since they're asking for approval tonight because of getting, and we know what it's like with other projects, finding material, that kind of stuff, and time providing, is it something that we should vote on this evening, or should we vote for another meeting? Like, what would hold us back from doing that?
What would hold you back, and that's where we'd have to ask I intended it to be voted on April 8th because I don't know if this falls under sunshine and the ability to say, what's an emergency, we've got to add it to the agenda.
Right. So is that something Chris could answer, or?
Chris, can you answer that? I know he's there.
Yeah. Sorry, make sure I just heard the question right. It's about adding this to the agenda now
Yes.
for approval?
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. We have to wait till that April 8th meeting. It doesn't meet the de minimis requirements, and it's not an emergency, unfortunately. But I think you can say, give them the support to do what Mr. Armbruster is asking, which is the ability to at least start the one call process and knowing that it's going to be moving forward that way.
Okay.
Is the board okay with that? Okay, because I intended to put it on the April 8th meeting unless I was told tonight not to.
Okay, so is that the same thing as the one call as us approving that?
No.
Okay, so we
The,
can go,
the one call would be making sure there's no power lines, pipes, anything under where we're gonna put it. We can do that and not move forward with the project.
okay. So we can just do that and then, okay, I get it.
Any other questions?
Is there an approximate cost?
So at this time, I believe Mr. Dinchard quoted us at about 15,000 total, but there will be no cost to the board.
Right,
To the
class of 24.
and other funding sources.
All of that would have to come, well, not the class of 24, but anything external would have to come to you also as a donation.
Are we prepared to have that all then next meeting as well?
Anything internal, you heard them say some of it is other clubs, that would not require you to accept a donation. But if something internally comes in, then it would.
Any added cost for maintenance yearly?
So we had discussed the opportunity to essentially use the memorial fund that you've already created. You approved that a couple months ago. That would help with the weed treatment. And the family has talked about making that an annual gift.
With that gift, God forbid anything were to happen again, would we be able to use those funds for future or past additions to the garden?
So like,
So I guess my question, like, for instance, somebody wanted to come and, I know we have an area behind the school for Lindsay. If we wanted a plaque to be added to this memorial in memory of her,
okay.
where can those funds be directed to? You know, like,
That would be a great addition to what we're talking about, our internal addition of a memorial wall behind this.
correct, but how, say I wanted to initiate that, are there going to be a pot of funds that they have already started or that we have started? Like you said, there was a memorial fund
Yeah, that's specific to Max Engel.
to Max. So could somebody, though, add to a larger fund for any student who has passed? You know what it, like,
They could start a different fund.
they could start a different fund?
Yes.
Okay, got it, okay.
One of the ways that they do it at Penn College is they don't have a plaque, as you're saying. They actually pull a paver out and have it engraved with whoever
Right,
employee or that goes
I've
back
seen that a lot.
back into the walk, yeah.
That's a good idea. I've seen that a lot of places like that.
Yeah, we built one for
Historical.
veterans in Picture Rock. I mean, it filled up pretty fast. Going back World War I, I mean, people that put a paper in there for a family member.
So we're gonna vote on April 8th, but we don't have to vote on the, what's it called?
PA1 call?
Yes, so that we don't have to vote on. We just go ahead and do that. So, okay, that's, okay. I just wanna make sure that we don't have to approve that either.
Positive.
It's just general maintenance.
We don't have to, yeah, so that, does that, do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay,
The-
good.
One call gives you 10-day window, so
Okay.
that depends when that falls. You know, after your meeting, they may say, well, you gotta do it. We will come, and if that's what you wanna do, we can come mark it out, so one call knows where this is gonna be.
Huh.
And I guess then the board should also look and see where it, we just made the decision based on, again, the water over there, the elevation change from the existing sidewalk down into that area, trying to get it as most accessible as possible. So it is really, the way we have it proposed, is probably closer to the school building, as opposed to down here to the One of the things you can do, maybe, I know these students want to get involved, maybe just with the plant material, if you can't get, we can't get off the ground to do the hardscape work. We can, lay it out, put some trees in
Additional questions from the board about that?
Just for curiosity, how big is the circle?
Well, we were talking about that. I mean, you're obviously only limited to the space that's there. We were thinking 12 feet, but it can be larger than that. The reason I said 12 feet is because the photos that you're looking at, they make it what's called a circle kit.
Yeah.
So it's. Yeah,
That's how
it's
big
laid
the
out.
kit is. Gotcha.
But we could lay any type of tape in there and actually cut the circle ourselves.
And you're gonna connect to the sidewalk, this will be handicap accessible?
Yes, that's the other
Because-
reason we want to ramp it as opposed to any steps. So that grade has to be, within AD.
Yeah. Thank you.
Please go ahead. So I know you want to, there's one more thing Mr. Armbruster wants to talk about connected to this.
So this second piece is a proposal from Coach Gravish, who could not be here tonight. But he would like to honor the locker space that was occupied by Max this year. And his hope is to add some LED lights, have one number 4 jersey displayed folded inside the locker on a stand, and have one hanging from the hook. And then he would like to leave some of the personal items with the family's help, as to sort of create this space for the team to reflect on when they're in the locker room. He's asking that we consider to place plexiglass over top of the locker, but I did make him aware of policy 702.1 that talks about requiring permanent retirement or discontinued use of school property. So I think that's a conversation that the board would need to have, does placing a plexiglass over top of the locker, does that count as retiring school property? But they were hoping that, LED lights and purchasing the jerseys, it's looking at maybe $500 to $1,000, and Mr. Rager's class could help with this project, and the funds are there in the current memorial fund to do this. So that, again, would be something that we would hope we could vote on at the next board meeting, but he asked that I share that tonight.
Yeah. And one of the hesitations that I have is that language in policy, which ultimately, if you as a board approve it, giving permission, but neither Mr. Armbruster or I believe that we can circumvent that language, which is why it needs to come in front of the board.
What would be the difference between that and the display case?
I would say because you're taking away the ability to use that piece of school property, which is what that policy language says.
So that wouldn't be repurposing. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. Thank you.
In essence, I believe if you approve it, you're giving permission. And so I'm asking for board comment at this point. Are you okay with that being a part of the approval on the April 8th agenda?
I think there has to be discussion.
Okay. Do you want the solicitor to weigh in on that language?
Would that be April 8th to discuss it, to weigh in on it, and vote on it? Or no?
Yeah, well, I think in the meantime, we need Mr. Kenyon to
Right.
tell us, is that what that language is telling you?
Okay.
Okay. Any additional questions for Mr. Armbruster? Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment about one of the students. I mean, that was an excellent job. Let me say the scariest thing to people, public speaking, next to dying. So they did a really good job. I don't know what their needs were taken, but they really did a good job. So that must mean you're all doing something right.
And up next is Mr. Mincer to review the athletics budget. You do have copies at your seat. of both Mr. Mincer and Mr. Wall's budget. Remember, you have the line by line, but what they're reviewing tonight is an overview of the changes from last year.
All right, thanks for having me tonight. I'll try to stay within my allotted time. I did want to let everybody know that what I did with the budget for this year did come in roughly about $3,500 less than it was the previous year. So I'm going to go over some of the changes, and that was including the budgets for the bocce that we included this year and the girls wrestling. So I did want to go over some of the changes that we had. So again, the budget includes the newly added sports for bocce and girls wrestling. Ensures expenditures cover the costs of needed equipment and travel. Update uniforms for some teams, and trying to keep the budget static if possible. So by static, I mean no increase and right around where it was the year before. Some of the major items that are hitting the budget for this year is uniforms for the girls basketball team, uniforms from the boys soccer team that are held over from 23-24, uniforms for junior high softball, replacement helmets and uniforms for football, uniforms for baseball, and an ice machine. Also would like to note that, and I didn't put this on the slide presentation, but within the budget I did eliminate 9th grade basketball, particularly because of participation over the last year. I don't think that we need the program anymore. Plus, we don't have it for girls, and we did have it for boys only. So I thought, as a Title IX issue there, as well as the lack of participation that we had this year. So we eliminated 9th grade basketball, which eliminated a coaching position and some travel expenses and some game expenses and stuff like that. So that also helped us keep the budget lower. And I also have a proposal to Dr. Almer to reduce our activity fees that we charge our student athletes. Currently, we charge $40 per student per sport, which is the highest in the district. In our area, I went and emailed every school district that I have in my database, and by far we're the highest. Lewisburg's the next highest with $75 for the year. If a student played 3 sports with Jersey Shore, it'd be $120. So what I propose is that it be $50 for the year for the students. So it'd be a slight increase if they only played 1 sport, but if they played multiple sports, it would be a significant decrease to the parents and the family. And this is roughly between this year and last year, what it would be next year. And I put this in the budget, so the budget you have in there reflects the $50 per student athlete for the activity fee. If we did that, it would be roughly about a $4,500 difference in terms of income to the district. And that, like I said, is already built into the budget. So those are the major changes that I had in the budget, and I wanted to go over a couple of the line items that we changed that are different. If you look through the whole budget, line item 513, transportation, is significantly higher than it was last year. The budget wasn't sufficient for many of the sports that we had this year, and including we had added 2 sports, so girls wrestling and bocce, so we need to accommodate for those as well. And then in general supplies, we have a decrease in the budget, a $7,200 decrease, and I'm hoping to keep that static throughout the next couple of years. And then the last page that I had in my notes, the replacement equipment. Last year we spent $34,000, and this year we're spending $5,000. It was going to be around $10,000, but as I said, I wanted to try to keep the budget right around what it was last year. So we were going to get 2 ice machines, one for the high school, one for the middle school. But I figured we'd do 1 ice machine this year, move the one from the high school to the middle school, and then replace the old one at the middle school next year. So that would keep that line item static for the budget. So that is the notes that I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a couple, Bill.
Okay.
I personally, that $50 is a good idea, but I personally would like to see it lower. I'd like to see more participation. I don't know if that's holding the kids back or what, but You know, we're lacking, especially in our fall sports participation somewhere. I mean, these kids deserve to play. I don't know. I like to see it lower, but maybe we can discuss that later.
I'm perfectly fine doing it lower too.
It's up to the board, I guess, but
Well, and I do want to say, and Bill and I have talked about this, that is board approved. So even though he's budgeting that way,
right.
I was very clear with him that it does have, like, that proposal, he's bringing it up and saying he's budgeting that way, but it has to come in front of the board for approval. And he intended to do that in a future meeting, because then you would approve it and it would become part of his final budget and the numbers would reflect that. So it is a good time to talk about that, because it hasn't come back in front of you, to give you time to think about it. But he did do a study. I have the information. I think I shared it, but I can reshare it with the board, looking at where everybody else is in their participation fees. Any other comments about that?
That was changed.
Oh, boy.
It's been a while.
It was $30 when I was here last 10 years ago, so
It hasn't been changed since I've been here.
I want to say it was 18, 19?
Yeah, it's been like.
Yeah, we changed it back when I was on the board previously, I remember.
Yes. I think it's Serena's first.
Was that to raise it?
Yeah.
We raised it, more or less we did raise it.
We went to the per season model.
Yeah, what we are finding in looking at other schools is there is not a per season model. There's very few per season models. Most of the places it's a one-time flat fee for the year.
Now, Lewisburg's the one that isn't like that, but there's additional seasons are far less than what our additional seasons are. I think it was $75 if a student did 3 seasons at Lewisburg.
I have a question. I don't remember if it was discussed, but I can't recall it being taken care of. But wasn't there an issue with our soccer goals?
I think we replaced those.
We did replace those. Yep.
Okay, all right. I don't remember. I know we discussed it.
Under the uniforms for boys soccer, it's held over from this year. So does that put another situation out of whack?
No, the girls got new uniforms this year. So,
Okay.
And part of the reason, and I don't know the whole story, so Justin may need to help me on this. The uniforms that were purchased for the girls this year didn't fit. So we had to get additional uniforms for the girls that took the boys' uniform money away to get ones that fit the girls' team. So that's why. But we are using those uniforms that we did buy for the junior high team, so the junior high team has new uniforms, so, and the high school team.
I have a couple more questions.
Yep.
Mr. Mentor, the cheerleading squad, how many girls cheerleading? How many
For
participate?
the high school or middle school?
High school.
About, I think I said in my evaluation process, I think there's 17 this year.
How many?
17.
Because I was questioning why we needed an assistant at both the high school and the middle school. I thought maybe there was 10 or something like that, but if we're 17, you.
That's just at the high school, so that there's an entire squad at the middle school. And
Right,
and
you have
that's
an assistant
season,
at both middle and the high school.
that's currently what we did this last year,
You have about 17, 20 participants at both levels then.
roughly.
Okay, the other question, I guess I kind of maybe answer this for you myself, but I'm looking at football. I guess the budget was, more or less the salary is 83.25, and then the payout was 10.522. And these coaches get paid in additional if they go beyond the regular season. Is that where that money's coming from? I've noticed that in a couple different sports.
Which one, is the 810? I don't know what you're referring to, because I don't have the budget in front of me.
The football.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what you're,
I don't know what line item you're referring to.
131 regulars.
He's referencing that
Just
the actual payout is higher for 22-23 than what was budgeted. And he's asking, is that because postseason, you're budgeting their actual season amount,
Yes.
but
Yes, that would be it. They each, I
Kinda
think
like
they got
that. Their
120.
base salary, and then if they go beyond their regular season,
Yeah,
they get,
the head coach gets a certain amount, and then each of the assistants get a certain amount. Thank you.
okay, that was in quite a few sports, and that's kinda what I thought it was. I know if they go on postseason, they do that.
Yep, like well, we don't have the actuals for basketball right now, but that would be the same for basketball this year. Girls tennis was the same. Wrestling will be the same, swimming. They each had advancements.
And I can tell you, when I put them in there, what happens is I put them all under the head coach. So there's multiple coaches getting that postseason stipend. That's why you're seeing the variance on the head coach side, because I can't always tell when I get the list, well, this is the first assistant, the second assistant, the third assistant to the scorekeeper of the eighth assistant to the clock manager. So I just put them all under the head coach.
Right. The other question I have is on the wrestling. You have no distinction there between the boys. I mean, you had boys basketball, girls basketball,
I actually
different
have
things, but you have nothing there with the girls. Is that all inclusive?
Yeah, the coaching staff for the wrestling will be this coaching staff that we have there now. So there'll be a head coach, a varsity assistant, and then the other assistant coach will be the girls' head coach.
As you
The
have
girls'
it now.
coach. That's what I proposed when we approved the program, so that we weren't adding additional costs. So the head coach would be the head coach over the entire girls and boys program, and then his two assistants would be branched out to help each of the two different teams. And all three of them would be there to help all of them together.
Right. Do you have any plans on how you're gonna separate those two next year?
Separate them in terms
Into
of,
different practice rooms?
they're probably gonna use some of the same practice rooms, but we'll be gonna utilize the side gym and the wrestling room.
Okay, I just have one more, and this is gonna go to the Buildings and Ground Committee here.
Well, he's not up yet.
Well, we're gonna discuss it later. The athletic facilities, we have, I know I always get complaints from the girls' basketball team, the boys are practicing, the boys wrestling, girls wrestling, you have softball in there that maybe wanna practice sometime, you have baseball kids in there wanna practice. Have you ever thought of doing anything with the facilities that we have and expanding? Because I know you're probably gonna bring up volleyball this year sometime, more than likely. You got bocce in there. I mean, do we have enough room for all these things?
We do for volleyball because that's a fall sport. We're not inside in the fall. So that would be an excellent use of a facility that we don't utilize right now. And in the winter, it's tough, Harry. And one of the things that I did find out that there may be a little bit more room down at Jersey Shore Elementary after school. So that would be helpful if we could use that facility. The one bad thing about that in terms of wrestling is there's no shower facilities or anything down there. So that would be the one concern I would have, specifically putting wrestling there. But if we allowed the kids to go down there, drive down there or whatever, use the high school kids, then they could go up to the high school again to shower, but that's not ideal. But
No.
that would be the one thing that we could do to help alleviate some of the stress at the middle school, or at the high school.
I know when you have a basketball game, they have to move out of their area to go. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
that's,
we could get together when we have our committee meeting here, the three or three of us, that we could discuss maybe some athletic facilities expansion or something, what we could do to renovate maybe, or
We had
maybe
like
get more room for these kids somehow.
yeah, if we had a separate building on the outside for, just to put wrestling, I think that would be great.
No, I mean, use it for everything.
Yeah, but I mean, for instance, you get them out there on that side building, and then you don't have people walking through the gymnasiums for basketball practice, except for the fitness center. You have a place to do indoor practices for baseball and softball after wrestling practice is over. Wrestling doesn't have to stop practicing once there's a basketball game, which if we use the side gym, they currently will have to. And that's been an issue in memoriam there since we've had that facility up there.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Because the fitness center was put in.
Yeah.
Kind of dampened it a little bit. Okay, we'll have that discussion later on. Thank you.
No, no worries. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Yentzer. Mr. Wall? Again, as he's coming up, you do have a copy of what he's going to review in front of you.
Good evening, Board. 24, 25, buildings and grounds. I think what I'll do is just go through each facility and go to questions right after each one, if that's okay. Here at the administration building, one of the things that hit the budget this year, we have a forklift that we need to do something with in this building. It's basically used for
Brian.
loading, unloading things as they come in. We have
Mark, can you move this to where you're at? There.
Yeah, sorry about that. Forklift we currently have, it needs a battery replacement. It's a fairly large battery. The cost just to replace the battery is $10,000. I think what we'd like to do is get away from electric and go with a propane forklift. We wouldn't have to worry about the battery anymore. If we did replace the battery, it would actually be the second time it's been replaced in probably 10 years. So we're looking at $20,000 that we would incur on that. One of the other things we looked at was possibly renting a forklift, because it's not something that we use every day, but it is something that we use more than it would not, I don't think it'd be cost effective to rent it. Simple math would tell you that. I did reach out to several vendors in the area that supply forklifts for rentals. None of it really makes a lot of sense to rent. So that would be a $20,000 increase in the administration building budget under 762. Any questions on that?
Is this for a new one?
It would be refurbished for 20,000, yeah.
So if it's refurbished, it doesn't come with a warranty?
It would have a warranty, yes. Yeah, what we typically do if we were to buy new, we would buy through, say, CoStar, that's cooperative purchasing, for 20. I don't think.
You couldn't get one for
No. So this would have to go out to some sort of, we'd have to go out to bid to get the best price we could get for it. But I know for sure I can get one for $20,000.
How much are tires? And you wouldn't be using it, not even for it, but just to.
Forklift tires?
Yeah,
To tell you, we've never bought them. I mean, I would think
because I think they're expensive.
they are. They're a hard tire. I mean, I'm sure they're $300 or $400 a piece, I would
I'm
think.
sure you don't use it enough to go through.
We don't. It's all inside. I mean, yeah.
Would you be trading the old one in on the new one, or what would you be doing with that?
We would trade it in, yeah. And I mean, it's pretty useless without a battery, so, I mean, we would get something for it. Moving on to athletics. The 2,600, 430, there's an $800 increase there on repair and maintenance. Again, that's just a projection. On the utilities, 424, there's a $7,000 increase. And that, I believe, looking back, was water and sewer for the athletic facilities.
As Mark goes through this, you're gonna see utilities in multiple places. And it's a real simple, your bills are going up.
So from this year to last year, as you can see, there's an $800 increase in athletics.
Now, is this like, so this would be everything from, equipment, paint, brushes?
Repairing the 430, yes.
All that kind of stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
It would not be paint, or Bill handles all the paint and things like that, but just regular things to take care of the facilities, electrical things, light bulbs, anything that's in the facility pretty much. But like I said, Bill handles, he budgets for the paint, the lime, aerosol paint, all that stuff comes out of Bill's budget.
It
Avis Elementary, 762 bathroom partitions at Avis Elementary. They're very inadequate for if you ever been into any of the restrooms at Avis Elementary, the stall walls are
Like this.
probably about that high.
They're about
Kids
this
must be
high.
much bigger these days. I think we should look at replacing those. I got a quote for them way back in November for around $10,000. The other item at Avis, cafeteria tables. There's 6 of those that need replaced. They're to the point where they're very hard for custodial staff to pick up and down. There's no replacement parts available for them. So yeah, they're just wore out.
Those are refurbished?
Yeah, we would have to give the measurements to the company. They would cut them, send them in, and we would just install them. So at Avis, you're looking at a $29,000 increase overall from last year. Senior high, 430, that's the elevator service that services the 2 elevators at the high school. There's a $500 increase from the vendor. Natural gas at the high school, $621. There's a $5,000 decrease in that actually. Just projecting the bills from last year to this year, what we're looking at, I think we'd be pretty safe with that. So at the high school, we're looking at a $3,000 increase overall from last year. Any questions on the high school?
I have a question.
Yep.
With the new boilers, do you see a change? You think that's the
Well, that's the give and the take. When the electric rate goes up and then you're using less electric and propane, then it kind of doesn't look as good as it should because your rates went up.
Right.
But yes, we're definitely seeing natural gas, less usage on that end of it, yeah. Jersey Shore Elementary, utilities, 422, there's about a $22,000 increase. That is electric. I think there's a lot that Jersey Shore Elementary gets used a lot, not just during the day. There's an after-school program. There's an after-school wrestling that's in there all the time. Probably attributes quite a bit to it. But 424 utility, looks like there's a $15 increase there, and that's just a projection. So Jersey Shore Elementary, there's a $22,000 increase overall. Any questions on Jersey Shore Elementary? Maintenance, this would be our maintenance shop. There's a $250 increase on utilities. That would be gas at that building. It's a gas heated building. Middle school, 430, we have, this is the year for roof maintenance at the middle school. For some of you that are new, we contract our roof maintenance out for high school, middle school, and then we stop for a year, and then we go to Saudisburg, Avis, and kind of flip-flop them back each year, back and forth to, I feel once every other year we're in good shape. What that does for the district, when we go to do a roof project or not do a roof project, several of our roofs, last year's budget, we put in a 10-year warranty extension. That keeping those roofs in good shape through that maintenance program allows us to spend a little bit of money for a 10-year warranty extension that we don't have to replace the whole roof. It's just basically they come back almost like a warranty as it was new, if that makes sense. Again, utilities, there's a $12,000 increase there, middle school. And the last thing for middle school, 762, the gymnasium wall pads. For any of you that have been in the middle school, the wall pads are in bad shape. They're tattered. They're just in bad shape. They just need to be replaced. I got a quote for those for $5,000. Hopefully that stays as much as it is, but I know that Resolite stuff's been going up like crazy, so hopefully we can do something with that. So in middle school, there's a $26,000 increase there. Any questions on that? Salisbury Elementary, the biggest thing up there this year, every 5 years this needs to be done. It's a MPDES permit for the treatment facility. And what that is a permit that we have to apply for. Has to be applied for 180 days prior to when it needs to be actually renewed. I typically work with Larson Design for all the paperwork and all the things that they have. They have to come up to the plant, check everything out, all the flows need to be checked. And all that stuff needs to be recorded through Pennsylvania. And then we get that back, and then we haven't had any trouble having it done. It's just the timeline that it needs to be done and making sure it's current for the treatment plant to be operated. So at Salisbury, there's a $17,000 increase overall from last year. Any questions on Salisbury? So district-wide, 762 warehouse delivery van. That's a vehicle that we use. It probably leaves this building 2 to 3 times a day to deliver food, mail. There's mail that goes to each school every day. That's a $55,000 increase, and that would be new through CoStars. That cost, I think there's some wiggle room with that, and we would obviously trade in the van that we currently have.
Do you know approximately what the mileage is on it?
Yeah, it's I think probably like 140,000 right now.
Thank you.
The next thing for district-wide, 430, the HVAC software and maintenance. That's basically all our controls for boilers, univents, air handlers, rooftop units, all that stuff. And then there's obviously a software agreement that goes with that. That's a yearly cost. That's about $2,960 up from where it was last year. So you're looking at about a $40,000 increase district-wide. Are there any questions on that?
I just have, just a comment. I noticed that, looking at your line items, I noticed that the overall total, like from 2022 to 2024, the overall expenditures increased by, I just figured it out, almost $350,000 in 2 years. It's probably all, you don't figure it out, I checked the numbers here, but it's probably almost all utilities and stuff, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Increases in prices, but it's.
The whole budget for me
2 years, it's gone up almost, it's been going up from what you have here, 350 grand.
Yeah, the whole thing's about, I'd say like 8-9% up from where it was last year. And the majority of those are, like you said, there's very small changes in supplies and things like that. But a lot of the things are utilities that just can't control that.
I have one question.
Mhm.
Not to, this isn't, I swear this isn't me.
No.
So for Salisbury, you're down 10,000 for increase and decrease. You quoted us 17. Am I missing? What am I missing?
He doesn't have
Is
it
that
all.
just for the extras?
Yeah, I'm thinking there probably should have been another item on there.
Okay.
You didn't talk about utility increases
Okay,
for
that's-
Salisbury?
yeah, okay, that's what
Would
I-
that be the other 7,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you added utilities in every other building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Okay, that's what, I said I wasn't.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
But you're right, Mr. Brungard, you can see what utility increases are doing to your budget.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I figured that has to be what it is, basically.
Thank you.
The last thing on my report is attached to the agenda are two job descriptions. One is an update, one is a new job description based on the inclusion of that in the teacher's contract as a stipend payment. These are just on for you to review. If you have questions after the meeting, reading those, let me know. They won't be on the agenda for approval until the next meeting. That's my report.
Next, we will have courtesy of the floor. There isn't anyone that signed up for this particular. Absolutely. Come on up. Just state your name and address, please, and you will have 3 minutes.
John Sharman, 220 Mount Pleasant Avenue. Back when I served on the school board with Harry and Mr. Pryor and that, there were a lot of energy studies done with everything. Has there been a consideration of the school district going in conjunction with PP&L to look at the possibility of going to LED lighting throughout the school district? I see outdated fluorescents in here and that, and for most probably every building. And I see outdated lighting for outside lighting up at the junior high school with things. And maybe there should be an energy study done in conjunction with PP&L and seeing what the cost would be to start converting over to LED lighting, because I'm sure with LED lighting you could probably light this room up in here with half the lights that you've got now. And probably with each fixture up there, bulb is about 30 watts draw, something like that. With LED would be 11, and you would get a higher lighting for a bang for your buck. And there was a complete energy study done, as I said, but that's been 10 years ago. But has there been one done since? Because you're facing enormous amounts of an increase in your electricity. I found out on my own personal basis, of course I live at home by myself now, but I went to all the LED lighting, but I'm telling you what, I'm saving in the long run by doing it. And it's time to come into the modern age here. If there hasn't been an energy study done, then it's time to have it done in order to cut down, to try to wheel. You might have to put a little bit more money out front with things, but to save money for the long run and get updated and get a better bang for the buck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shireman. Okay, moving on to personnel. Approving items A through L. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
I just want to make sure that I point out letter B is worded that way because if you as a board, if you remember, if a coach is removed, the other positions are open. So I was asked why I didn't list all the positions are open, because that's automatic based on our internal policies.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none.
Clarification, everything, the same thing happens with C, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say aye. Motion passes. There's nothing under curriculum. Building and grounds.
I do have something.
Okay.
At our next meeting, Mr. Allen called me, I think on the agenda, and maybe like if any of the school board members in the interim would want to text me about some of these things. Mr. Allen would like to talk about the safety of our schools. If you want to bring up anything that you feel is a real safety issue in any of our schools, shoot me an email, and we'll discuss it when we have our committee meeting. I'd like to talk about the renovations with Mr. Wall. I mean, what's on the list, what you think maybe is gonna come up next, so be ready for that, maybe bring some suggestions. I'd like to talk to, Mr. Mensch's gone, well, he's still here, but maybe our athletic facilities, put that on the agenda also. What we could do with some of the areas that we have, maybe to improve them, or if we can add on to some spot alongside the school to make more room for these kids. And then, the last thing will be money. How are we gonna get the money for some of these things if we do go ahead with something here? So, again, if anybody has anything, just email me on, if you see a real safety issue somewhere in any of these outlying schools or any of the schools, and we can discuss that and proceed maybe with it.
When is the next meeting?
Well, we're waiting on the committee meeting till, I think Mr. Bittner is waiting, he said he was gonna, I'm gonna wait till he gets back to me, because he was gonna check on something after this health program went through. So he said it'd probably be 4 or 5 weeks
The next,
till he got back to him. I think it's like May 5th or something,
May 13th.
May 13th, I was close.
But I think he's saying he would like input prior to that.
Right, we'll meet after, he gets back to me. And have our committee meeting, then we'll have the meeting May 13th.
Dr. Elmer.
Oh, just Cliff, hold on. I believe it's 6, but let me double check. I don't want to be wrong. 6 o'clock. May 13th, 6 o'clock, right here.
Anything else, Harry? Is that it? Mr. Brungard, is that it?
That's it. Thank
Okay.
you. No.
You're welcome. All right, moving on to finance. Action to approve A and B. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Can you explain A, letter A?
Mr. Enders?
A is the accounting software, finance software. It's an annual renewal that runs all books, all payroll, all HR, all of insurances, basically everything from the business office perspective. Letter B is a one-time cost that is converting our tax collection software from in-house to web-based. This is the last piece of software, at least the business office has, that is not web-based. So once this goes through, we will be 100% web-based.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say aye. Motion passes. Moving on to miscellaneous. Approving item A. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say aye. Motion passes. There is nothing under old business. We will now have courtesy of the floor. Please state your name and address, and you will have 3
John
minutes.
Sharman. Just one thing I've noticed from, well, for the expenses for the school, all the schools for maintenance and that. Has there been any consideration on paving the parking lot out here and especially up at the high school? Because that parking lot is getting very, very rough up there and deteriorating in bad condition in a lot of spots up there.
Yes, and that's been discussed by the Buildings and Grounds Committee and is on the list of priorities.
What would the estimated expense be?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me, but we do have an estimate.
What would the estimate be?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
So, but again, sometimes I realize it's an old adage with me, but crossing guards, you know, because sometimes when one of them gets sick, there's something else. And to refer back to a subject a couple of weeks ago, there was some politics brought up and some claims made. Sometimes you have to be like the magician. Somebody's saying, okay, pay attention to what I have out here. Don't pay attention to what I'm trying to do by my back. We're hearing indoctrination on one side. It may be from the other side, but there's no business for any politics to be brought up at any of these board meetings. It drags the students in and it drags the administration in, and it's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Shireman.
Good evening, Board. Bob Pryor, Mifflin Township. When the new board was sworn in last December, excuse me, it's kind of dry in here. When they were sworn in, I gave everybody a piece of advice, whether they wanted to listen to it or not. But anyway, I asked you to consider your wants versus your needs. Okay, we're all aware of what the economy is and how hard it is on a lot of people out there. So, you know, if you want something, maybe you think what you want is really cool, you know, that would be nice to have. But as directors, you have to look at whether or not you truly need that item. There's got to be a balance. And that's one of my main concerns. Money don't grow on trees. But anyway, I have an article here that the Sun Gazette put in. This is their view, the editor's view. And it's titled, School Boards Need to Balance Needs of Students and Taxpayers. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to pass it out to you. I'm just going to read the last half. They state, we hope the public understands that our school boards must balance the need to provide suitable education to the youth of Lycoming County with the financial burdens our school systems place on taxpayers. Today, those burdens are primarily felt by homeowners and property owners. If our state ever realizes any form of property tax relief, then working Pennsylvanians will bear more of the burden through their income taxes, or retailers will bear the burden in trying to sell goods with higher out-of-pocket expenses due to higher sales taxes, or both. The reality of the burdens mean we must speak out against irresponsible spending. We must ask our school boards to be realistic about what an education should cost, and must resist the activists and rabble-rousers who believe the cost of an education, of staffing, of upkeep for buildings, of all the expenses associated with education can endlessly rise. This study and a measured, prudent conversation in several months about what it finds, a conversation that doesn't neglect the taxpayer, is a step in that direction. So I'm going to, before I pass these out, I'll give you an example of something I think should be considered. I know when you got the facilities dog that was approved by the previous board, was that a want or was it a need? Think about that. How's it going to help education?
The dog.
These are dry. Mr. Pryor, we can pass those down.
Oh, could you?
Wait, keep your agenda, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor.
What's that?
Wayne Kinley, Mifflin Township. I noticed under personnel, acknowledging that Michaela Dickey has attained her master's degree. And I would just like to know, I see that it's effective for 24-25. What would be the, based on the matrix, what would be that increase, depending on what step she's in?
The old contract, but we can change on this one.
Are you asking for that specific employee?
Well, as an example, yeah.
The master's plus 30, right?
No, it's just a master's.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking master's plus 30. The masters and the bachelors, they don't have a direct lineage of a dollar amount increase per step for every step. Like going from masters to master's plus 30. I can tell you what.
Well, is she bachelor right now, or is she?
Yes.
But wouldn't it be based on her step from bachelor to master, the same step? What would that increase be, is what I'm asking.
Doesn't even list her step, and I'm not gonna look it up, but I can tell you, like, a bachelor's, step one for 23-24 is $50,000. A master's, step one, 23-24 is $55,269. That one's about just over $5,000.
Okay. Well, the point is, in negotiating the last contract, I found that I was on the negotiating committee. We are an outlier in the wrong way as far as our differences. When somebody goes from bachelor's to master's, our increases range from $52.69, as you just pointed out, for step one, up to $8,798 for step 17. Comparing every other Lycoming County district, there was a low of 2,200 and a high of 3,300. And obviously, we can't do anything about it. The contract is in place. I raised the question, and I wanted to pursue it, and I was told that I could not pursue it, even though I was on the negotiating committee. I think that could have been addressed, and I did address it and did an analysis, and I got the range down from 3,500 to 5,000. But I was not permitted to pursue that in negotiations. Is my time up?
Your time's up.
Mr. Enders took too long to.
You need to ask the question when you're done.
Good point.
Okay, these two quick questions, and you might not have the answer tonight. As you develop the budget, I believe you said the last meeting there were 4 retirements, but one was going to be a wash because we're adding a new position in CTE. Anyway, at some point, could you provide the dollar increase for the teacher's contract after all the dust is settled with the retirements and salaries and benefits for 24-25? And the other thing is, you also sort of give us an idea of the budget the last time. $750,000 deficit at this point, which you said you probably will change. Does that include 100% of the index?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinley. Okay, we will close courtesy of the floor, and we will adjourn the meeting. And we will be having an executive session afterwards discussing legal. Thank you.